I came from the North Country. I was born in Minnesota, and I ranched in Montana. I just was always good with horses. I don't know why. I started getting some horses on my own, and I had a neighbor who was very good. This man could slide and spin his horse, and we didn't know really how to do that up in Montana. And he said, well, I learned that from a guy down in San Juan. Walter Wright was his name. And a couple years later, I came down and I started working for Walter. Being that I'm from a bigger country, you know, Montana, where I'd take a colt and just go out and ride it. And that's what I needed down here. Our little places in town, I just didn't have the room to take a colt out and ride him. I can get on one of these colts and I just head up. If he needs to go, I just point him uphill and I just let him go, and we just climb and climb and climb until the horse has had enough. I think this is where I began to understand that the good horses, the great horses, come out of Texas, Oklahoma, and California. Up north, I tell you what, the horses are too spunky, and I don't think you can get them as well trained up there as you can down here. Once your horse has a bad attitude, it doesn't matter how beautiful they are or how athletic they are or how fast they are, you're never going to be able to access the beauty, the speed, or the athleticism if the attitude isn't right. It takes a horseman to create a good attitude in a horse. The main thing is you've got to understand how the horse sees. There's got to be a relationship between a rider and a horse. And the horse has to understand that this is my friend on my back, but he's the controller. He tells us where to go. Horses can accept this from a good horseman. They can't accept that from a poor horseman. I have 3 boys. Calvin is the oldest, Clayton is next, and then Robert is the youngest. They have been helping riding these horses since they were very little. And it's just something that they really know how to do. And so none of them have ever really had many jobs in town. We've always just kept them busy building these barns and that. We really can't afford to hire help, so we try to keep the boys here. We can't pay them a lot, but we tell them this is the future. You have a future here. This is a place where, you know, we're building this for the boys. There's more work here than all of us will be able to do in a lifetime. The only way to be in the horse business is through word of mouth, because you can advertise all you want, but it's what people hear. So we had to think of some way that we could get some exposure. Some people started setting up different clinics and getting people together, and I would work with groups of people. And we've been working with groups of people for probably 14, 15 years now.
Everybody trains horses similarly, but Don's way is so non-dramatic, and that's what I really appreciate about him. He just does things to where he makes it become the horse's idea. You know, and it seems very natural, and it's very easy for other people to learn. So he's really a good teacher in that regard. You know, it's about the horse figuring out that it's easier for her to do what I want her to do than for her not to, and not by any sort of control. You know, it becomes more of a partnership.
First of all, you've got to know how to communicate to the horse. The horse is not going to try to figure out how to communicate with you. The rider has to learn what it takes to communicate with a horse. So I go over that right away.
It's easy to get on a horse like this that's trained and have her do, you know, the right things, but it's harder for me to be able to ride my other horses who aren't as trained, because I don't know yet exactly, you know, the right way of doing things. So I think that as I get more trained, I'll be able to ride my other horses better.
This information goes back 4,000 years to how to communicate with the horse. There's very specific things that you have to do. It would be like learning how to run the keyboard on a computer. You have to memorize stuff and know how it works. That's what you have to do with the horse. So I go over that first thing. The horse is an extension of the human, and the horse becomes a perfect extension of the human if there's enough time spent between the horse and the rider, and these things are laid down in a classical manner.
I'm doing some cutting on her now and taking some lessons and just trying to get used to her level, you know, to get myself up to her level. And you see horses that Don brings along from a young age, because they're trained and out in the pastures and on the hills, they just have a better mind about them, and that I think has a lot to do with the type of training that that Don does. It's just the horses, they do it willingly. You know, it becomes more of a partnership.
The horse can become the extension of the rider, and they can be almost like your hand, almost as free as your hand. You can get them to pick up their left front foot and cross over in front of their right, or cross behind, or step back or forward, whatever. I try to teach people how to do this. They're used to getting in a truck or a car and turning the key on and pushing down a pedal and going, and not being an integral part of the system. Where with a horse has to feel the timing, a horse can feel the thoughts that go through your head. Your machine can't do that. So it takes so much more to ride a horse than it does a motorcycle or even probably a jet. Because the jet doesn't feel your emotions. A horse can feel your emotions.
And what Don teaches here is related to ranch horses. And so this is, you know, a useful thing, kind of a traditional sort of horsemanship, and the ability of a horse like this to do ranch work is something that's kind of natural. And in fact, he knows how to do it better than I do. This is more about my learning how to communicate with him, because he already has it all. Well, I met Don some years ago at a clinic, and he helped me out with some things that I was having trouble with another horse, and then I just started coming down here, you know, a couple times a year.
As part of an educational tool, we'd bring in a little herd of cattle and use them. And the thing with a cow is they were bred to be fairly domestic, and they get tamed very quick. You can only really get about 5 minutes of work out of each cow. So we got some buffalo from my friend Les Vogt. He'd been using them for a few months, maybe 6 months or so when they were little, to train his cow horses. When you're trying to make a cow horse, is you've got to teach the horse the most basic parts of working a cow. Number one is go with the cow. Be drawn to the cow. Hook on to the cow, we call it. The next thing the horse has to learn is how to go the same speed the cow is going, or we refer to that as rate. Horse has to learn how to rate the cow. Cow goes faster, horse goes faster. Cow goes slower, horse goes slower. And then the next thing the horse has to learn is how to stop with the cow. When the cow stops, horse stops. And then turn with the cow. When the cow turns, horse turns. Those are your most fundamental parts of being a cow horse. When I take them out to do a job now on working cattle, my horses now will know these basic skills. Go with the cow, stop with the cow, turn with the cow. I teach them that in a 150-foot round pen, which a Texas horseman named Buster Welch came up with the 150-foot round pen. I switched to buffalo because a beef cow will only go around a couple of times, and I might need my horse to go around 12 times. The buffalo have tremendous endurance. They will gallop for hours and hours and hours without fatiguing. A buffalo was never genetically altered by mankind. The buffalo developed on the Great Plains, where it ran from Canada to Mexico twice a year. Once they have learned their pattern, they will do the same pattern year after year after year. So where I used to need a herd of cattle, so that's why I switched to the buffalo, and that's how I use them.
Chief here has been on buffalo twice before, and every time it seems a little bit different. Today he had trouble really getting hooked on, He felt very lazy. I was trying to push him up into the cow, and he didn't just perk up and go for it. You'd rather have a horse that you have to hold back a little bit. With him, I kept asking for more, and it was pretty sloppy. It was pretty sloppy. I hope by the end of the weekend we're doing better stops and rollbacks.
You won a lot of battles before you came to Benoche, but when the miles are done, you're gonna have a hunch. There ain't no future in a fight in your head. I'd sure hate to see you wind up dead.
I needed help, and one of my friends said, you know what? That girl needs a cowboy. So we brought her out to Dawn's last October.
Get along. Did I miss a verse? A lot of times people will look at a guy like me and they'll in fact, they'll ask me, are you a cowboy? And I just say, no, I'm a horseman. I'm a guy that works with horses. And there's a difference between a cowboy and a horseman. Cowboys are horsemen, and horsemen can be cowboys. But I don't spend a lot of time working with cattle. I spend all my time working with horses. I try to get my horses so that they can work cattle.
I'm learning how to react differently when she tests me. I'm learning how to handle her behaviors the correct way, because I didn't know how to react. I would just get mad before. And so I'm still working on that. But just, you know, she's learned how to be loaded in a trailer without hesitating, just going straight in. So I'll be working with Don throughout the next month on that, so he teaches me how to do it. She's been hobble broke, like all the babies that he starts, they hobble break them with ropes so that they learn to give to pressure and not to panic if they ever get caught up in barbed wire. So she's come a really long way. He's also worked on moving off his leg because she tends to be kind of balky, and just going through water and going towards strange things without hesitating.